Welcome to the Normal Baseball 2023 Will Be Series. Today, we got the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's talk about them. What's going on? Welcome back to Normal Baseball. Today we are continuing our 2023 Will Be Team Projection Series. We have the 2022 National League Champion Philadelphia Phillies today. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And we're going to get right into it. So the Phillies, the 2022 NL Champions, lost to the Astros in 6 games. In the World Series.
Only team to beat the Astros in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Only team.
What we did to rate them was every team in baseball, we did a power ranking system where we graded them 1 to 10 on 7 different aspects of their team. We have lineup, bench, defense, rotation, bullpen, coaching, and energy. And then we tallied up all the scores, and we went from highest to lowest total. The Philadelphia Phillies came in as our 11th best team in baseball, and the 6th best team in the National League. Yes, it does seem a little low, but when you think about it, last season, they went 87-75. They had a kind of Cinderella playoff run. Very much the underdogs through much of that playoff run. This season they did acquire big free agent that we'll get into. But yeah, we'll see what they can do this season. We'll talk about how their team is stacking up this season as compared to last season and what we think they're going to end up in at the end of the season. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, do we want to start off with their lineup?
Of course.
We should. So, like I said, we graded everything 1 to 10. Their lineup, we gave an 8.2 out of 10. It's a very good lineup. Do you want me to rattle off really quick?
Please do.
Looking very similar to last year with the exception of shortstop Trey Turner. Following him is left field Kyle Schwarber. Rhys Hoskins at first base. JT Realmuto catching. Nick Castellanos in right field. Derek Hall at DH. That's what Fangraphs has listed. Alec Boehm at third. Bryson Stott at second. And Brandon Marsh in center field. So like I said, the team's lineup is looking very, very similar to last year. With the exception of Trey Turner, who will be their shortstop. Instead of Gene Segura, which is a very big plus in that lineup. Obviously, you don't have Harper in this lineup because of Tommy John surgery. He'll be back hopefully by the end of the season. But he's definitely going to be taking his time to come back. He'll probably be a DH also next season for a lot of it when he does come back. But for now, Fangraphs has Derek Hall slotted in. It's an amazing lineup.
Oh, yeah. Especially to think that this team went to the World Series last year, of course, missing their big guy, their guy, Bryce Harper. This lineup still looks very competent, ready to play, ready to win ball games. Whereas in years past, when Harper has not been in the lineup, it looks very lackluster. I still think that this lineup will compete, especially with Trey Turner, hopefully batting leadoff. If not, the 2-hole behind Kyle Schwarber. You know, they can be 1A, 1B type of deal.
Yeah.
Especially with how good Kyle Schwarber is from the leadoff position. As for the rest of their lineup, I love Hoskins. I think he's going to have a great year, especially if they're going to bat him that high in the lineup. No better place for him to really capitalize on the moment when he has 2 great on-base guys in front of him. JT, power bat. Nick Castellanos looking to have a bounce-back year after a down year. And the bottom half of the lineup is not what you would want out of a team that just went to the World Series. However,
it's not bad.
They can get it done.
Yeah, it's not bad. Especially with Alec Boehm. His bat does kind of bring him up, makes up for his defense a lot because his defense isn't great. Bryson Stott was very promising last year. I mean, he was a rookie last season. He in the majors, he played in 127 games. He was up for most of the year. Yes, he batted .234, but he didn't look all that bad. And also, he's 24 years old, and it was his first season in the majors. Give him a little bit of time, see what he can do this season. Hopefully, he can rack up a better season. But now he's going to be their everyday starter, which he was starting a lot last season. He was played in 127 games, but this season, like, it's his job, his to lose. He will be manning second. And he has Josh Harrison behind him. So if he isn't playing well, they could very much just have Josh Harrison start every day, because Josh Harrison is, at this point in his career, a definite starter in MLB. Yeah.
And I part of having a championship caliber team, as the Phillies are hoping to have again this season, is guys being able to be subbed out when needed. And of course, I'm going to be rooting for Bryson Stott. I'm a big believer in his. I think he's going to do well. I was excited to see that they called him up so early in his career after being the 14th overall pick just a few years back. I'm looking forward to the bottom half of the lineup. However,
you're a big Brandon Marsh fan, right?
Massive.
I feel like I remember that from last year. You were a big Brandon Marsh guy.
He was supposed to be the World Series MVP.
If they won.
If they won, Brandon Marsh would have been the World Series MVP. But as for Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm, two just younger guys who are electric. Brandon Marsh, another guy, young guy who's just electric. I think that towards the end of the season, hopefully, actually, I think before the All-Star break, we'll be talking about how this is more a complete lineup than we expected to, just because I'm going to trust in the bottom half of their lineup.
Yeah, it's mostly a how those guys play kind of situation. I think even then the top half of their lineup more than makes up for it.
Yes.
And especially when they get Harper back. I'm not exactly sure what month that is supposed to be. But from my understanding, he's definitely going to be back at some point next season. Mostly because he's not a pitcher, so he can just DH coming back, similar to what he did last year. Like, it's not that big a deal. Yes, it's still a long recovery time, but he, like I've been saying, could come back earlier due to the fact that he'll be just hitting the ball.
Yeah, I think if I had to take a guess, and I'm basing this off of when Shohei got Tommy John, if I had to guess, he'll probably be back around All-Star break, maybe like a few weeks after. Because I feel like Shohei's turnaround from when he got Tommy John in the offseason a few years ago was about that long, but I'm not 100% sure. That's just me making sort of a blind guess, but also thinking about how Shohei Ohtani came back. But then again, Shohei Ohtani, one of one athlete, who knows how long Bryce Harper might need to take. I mean, the Phillies are going to be careful with him. He is their $300 million man, one of the two. So they're definitely going to be careful with him and make sure that he's ready to go before they put him in the batter's box again.
Yeah, that's fair. And then another guy that we looked at, let me say I am very excited to see Bryce Harper back too. But another guy that we were talking about, and we said he had a bit of a down year, was Nick Castellanos, which he very much did have a down year when you look at it, but that's just in comparison to the last couple of years. His OPS was down tremendously, a 694 OPS, 263 batting average, but I do truly believe that he will be back and better than ever next season. I think he's going to make a lot of adjustments, and I think he's going to be ready to just hit the ball, mash the baseball next season. I want to see him get back to where he was in 2021 or even in 2019, 28. Like, most of his career, he has been that guy. His home runs were very much down. He hit 13 home runs in 136 games, which was actually less than he hit in 60 games in the 2020 shortened season. So I'd like to see his power come back a little bit, especially, also in 2021, like I mentioned, hit 34 home runs. So if he can fire on all cylinders, this lineup just becomes even that much more dangerous. Because he wasn't even firing on all cylinders last season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Nick Castellanos is going to be, I guess, the team's X factor. He's obviously slotted in at 5th in the batting order right now, but depending on how well he does to start off the season or how much he needs to improve to start off the season, we obviously could see him bat as high as 3rd, or we could see him bat 9th. And I think no matter where he goes, he'll make a an impact and a difference as much as he can. But I sure am going to be rooting for Nick Castellanos because we know him to be a much better ball player than what he was last season. And if he was dealing with something that didn't come out or something that he didn't tell the medical staff or something like that, then that's a whole nother ball game. If he just had a down year, I would genuinely bet almost anything that I could on Nick Castellanos having a bounce back year.
Yeah, me too. He's part of that. He was very much part of that hot cold kind of thing, which was what the Phillies lineup was all season. I said it all of last year. They are the most streaky team in baseball.
Yep.
And I said it right before the playoffs started, too. If they get hot right when the playoffs start, they will make it to the World Series. They will pass whoever's in their way if they get hot.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thing like last year. And this year, I hope they're not as streaky. And what I think is going to help them is adding a guy like Trey Turner, who they're 10 years, $300 million is what 11 years, $300 million, what they agreed to in the offseason. We knew he was coming to the East Coast.
Yeah.
We could kind of tell that he wanted to be on the East Coast. He didn't quite like LA. I know a lot of things came out about that. And the Phillies was just a perfect fit. Like I said, this team is the most streaky team in baseball. Trey Turner is one of the most consistent players in baseball. He is just going to constantly get hits, constantly get on base, constantly just do his thing. And if he can be doing that, I want to say the whole lineup is going to kind of take from him. And hopefully stay consistent also all year.
Oh, yeah.
Which would make this team very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and especially Trey Turner going from the National League West, which I believe we even spoke about this on our top 10 shortstops list. The National League West having bigger ballparks going out to the NL East, especially to the Phillies, who have one of the more hitter-friendly ballparks, along with other ballparks in the National League East. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing how much Trey Turner improves the lineup, and I think it's going to be a very good amount. Like, I think we're going to see a difference in that July stretch where usually you say, oh, here comes the Phillies' big losing streak. I think Trey Turner might single-handedly be able to win them some games.
Oh,
and keep them out of that, here comes the slump. Yeah, let's get ready. Time to watch them lose 14 in a row. Trey Turner will be a difference maker there.
Yeah, like you said, when you have that one guy who's hot, or who can just always get on base, the lineup kind of feels a little bit better. Like imagine in Game 6 of the World or Game 4 of the World Series when they were getting no hit. Trey Turner would have been the guy to get on base in that situation. And once you get one guy on base after a no-hitter ends, there can be momentum after that.
Oh, totally.
There can be a lot of momentum after that. You get so much of a better feeling after you get someone on base. Yes, of course, it could just go the opposite way and everyone strikes out, still gets out, and Trey Turner's just the only guy who can get on. Mm-hmm. But like, it's better than no one getting on and being no hit for even longer. Yeah. I think it was a really, really good pickup for them.
Speaking of good pickups, how about we move over to their bench and talk about a pitcher that we even mentioned earlier.
Before we do that, I just did want to mention one more thing. Rhys Hoskins, their first baseman, was a big part of that playoff run that they went through. Hit a lot of clutch home runs. That one, the bat spike being the most notable. He is a free agent after the season, and we haven't heard anything about extension talks. From what I heard, they haven't even approached him yet. So he is playing it's his contract year currently. Contract or an extension. So I want to see him playing as hard as he can, and I think he will be, knowing that he has a contract year coming up, because he would be a good piece on any ball club that wants him. So not even just the Phillies if they decide to not pick him up. I don't necessarily know who they would get next season, but just keep that in mind, that he is going to be playing in a contract year for him as of right now, unless he gets extended by the end of spring training or sometime during the season.
Yeah.
But yes, we can move over to their bench.
All right. So do you want to give them the grade and then read it off?
Yeah, I got it. So the Philadelphia Phillies bench, we gave them a 6.2 out of 10. The Phillies bench is looking like Garrett Stubbs, backup catcher for JT Realmuto. Josh Harrison will most likely be the backup second baseman to Bryson Stott, and DH some days as well until Harper gets back. Edmundo Sosa, who is just an all-around infielder, mostly plays shortstop, so we'll see him playing on days Trey Turner plays, even though Trey Turner plays every game, so not quite sure what they're going to be doing with him this season. And Dalton Guthrie, who seems like a utility player, just all around outfield, infield.
Will fill in where needed.
Yeah. So it's not a bad bench, but when you look at Edmundo Sosa was very bad with the bat last season, and very bad on defense. He had a lot of defensive errors. I think the bat was a little better than what I'm making it out to be, but the defense was not great. Dalton Guthrie, I can't lie, I've never really heard of him. He doesn't have much major league playing time. Josh Harrison, though, is the guy you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, Josh Harrison. I think if this Phillies team wanted to improve, obviously, of course, the reality of any sport is that injuries can happen. And having a guy like Josh Harrison on your bench, just in case someone does get hurt for a few weeks, does need to sit out 5-6 games down the stretch, having Josh Harrison to plug in there is extremely, extremely valuable. And I think that we should commend the Philadelphia Phillies for noticing the value of Josh Harrison, not as a starter, but coming off the bench. And I believe I don't know how much exactly they paid him.
They paid him, his contract is 1 year, $2 million.
Yeah, so, I mean, even better. So I believe that's probably more of Josh Harrison buying into the thought of this team can go back to the World Series and hopefully win it.
Yeah.
The bench just looks good.
On the White Sox last year, Josh Harrison, he wasn't exactly great, but everyone on the White Sox was kind of mid. They're a mid team.
Yeah, 81 and 81.
But I think his numbers project a perfect bench player. His WRC plus was 98, so just below league average, but that's the perfect bench guy to me. You're not gonna be the starter. Yes, you are a 10-year veteran, but you're at the point in your career where you would be better off on the bench. You would be better off coming in and just getting hits when you need to, rather than playing every day and having that constant playing time. So I do like it, and I think that's kind of what brings it high for me, this bench, because Garrett Stubbs I'm not too high on. It's mostly Josh Harrison that I like on this bench.
Yeah, Josh Harrison definitely carries the load of making this Phillies bench a 6.2 in our ratings. But all in all, a good bench. Hopefully we see the utilization of certain guys like Josh Harrison, like Garrett Stubbs, like Edmundo Sosa to be valuable down the stretch in case guys need rest or anything of that sort. And hopefully they can produce in their time.
I agree. Do we want to move to their defense? Their defense, we gave them a 6 out of 10. Yes, last year this team was not known for their defense. This team was actually more known for their bad defense, which is pretty funny. When you look at their outfield, especially without Harper, Kyle Schwarber is not a defensive outfielder whatsoever. No. Nick Castellanos, while he did have a very good glove in the 2022 postseason, he was actually making a lot of really good plays out there. He's not known for defense either. He's more for the bat.
Well, Nick Castellanos, I don't know how much you paid attention to their earlier games in the postseason before the World Series, because it was very dominant, very noticeable in the World Series. The Phillies played a very very analytic type of defense last year, and part of that was Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos had a much better fielding percentage when charging in and playing the ball in his glove side. So they played him more in the gap and had him play further back, which in Citizens Bank Ballpark, the entire ballpark itself is not big. So right field for Nick Castellanos was not a daunting task as if he were in Fenway Park's right field, but it made him charge the ball more and field from his glove side, and in the postseason, it made a huge difference. He made, 3 diving plays?
Oh, yeah. He was making, I feel every game he was making a different play, and we were all this is just so random.
Game 1 of the World Series, he finishes it off on a beautiful sliding catch. I believe he closed out, he stopped a comeback from the Braves on a beautiful diving catch. Just Nick Castellanos and the analytical department of the Phillies went together really well. However, generally, he's not the best fielder. That's what keeps him down. But, if the ball's hit in front of him on a fly and to his glove side, I'd bet money on him catching it.
Yeah, so we'll see if they kind of stick with that next season and then
it'll be interesting.
have that going. Another guy, obviously, what brought this defense up a lot for me was Trey Turner.
Yep.
Trey Turner's a very good defender.
Trey Turner and Bryson Stott up the middle is, I feel like it's going to be very underrated this season.
As well as Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh is a very good defensive outfielder.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And while Alec Boehm has not been good at third whatsoever, got booed heavily last season.
But he loves that place.
It brings it down. Yeah, he loves Philly. Yeah. He actually did by the end of the season.
He did say it.
And with the bench, Edmundo Sosa, not a great defensive player.
And
either.
JT, we cannot forget about JT.
JT has a cannon, but
dude, JT,
not the best. Still not the best defensive catcher by whatever sorts with framing and everything.
Yeah. But all in all, a 6 is, dare I say, even like what they top out at going into this season. I don't think I could have mustered even a 6.1 for him.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair score,
Yep.
especially considering some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to get to their pitching now?
Let's talk about it.
Their pitching, their rotation, we gave it a 7.8 out of 10. We are pretty high on this rotation. This rotation is looking like Aaron Nola, who is in a contract year as well, becomes a free agent after the season. Zach Wheeler, Taijuan Walker, who they signed this offseason, Ranger Suarez, and Bailey Falter. It's not a bad rotation.
Not at all.
Whatsoever.
I mean, Aaron Nola, the absolute dog of an innings eater that he is in the regular season, looking forward to it. And he's a playoff performer. We saw it last year. Zach Wheeler was the playoff performer. Never mind. Aaron Nola did get lit up, I think, by the Braves.
Okay.
But Aaron Nola is just an absolute dog during the regular season. It just absolutely consumes innings for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Zach Wheeler, we know who he is. I believe finished top 10 in Cy Young voting the past 2 years because he's just that guy. No, actually, last year he didn't even finish anywhere for Cy Young, but still had a very good season, all things considered. A 2.82 ERA from him over 153 innings. 150. Oh yeah, because he got I believe he missed a few starts due to an injury, I think.
Okay.
But Taijuan Walker, underrated signing.
Taijuan Walker
for this starting.
Taijuan Walker was a very, very good signing.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, a 4 year, $72 million.
Kind of a bargain for what the rest of the market was for players.
That is, if he can have a season like he did last season, yeah. No, for sure. It's a very, very good signing. Very underrated, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Mets fans weren't happy. But at the same time, a lot of Mets fans just said, take him. He's going to be bad because they remember the bad games. But he wound up with a 3.49 ERA last season. Like, he put together a very, very good season. One guy I did want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet is a man by the name of Noah Song, who is a starting pitcher and will be required to stay on their 40-man roster all season. If not, they must waive him and get rid of him. They can't put him into the minor leagues. Noah Song is someone who they got from the Rule 5 draft from the Boston Red Sox this offseason, back in December. He was drafted in 2019 by the Red Sox, played in 7 games for the Red Sox low A team, played in the Olympic qualifiers for the USA national team, and then went into the Navy. And he's been in the Navy since 2019, and he hasn't pitched in a professional game since 2019. I am excited to see this guy because now, since he was on the Rule 5 draft, if they put him on their 40-man, he has to be there all year, or else he's gone. Yeah. So I'm so excited to see if they actually decide to do anything with this guy. Obviously, it's a little bit of a risk bringing a guy who hasn't pitched in a professional game in 4 years, just bringing him onto your team and letting him start for you. He hasn't had a start in spring training yet, from what I'm looking at. But once he does have that start, it's going to be a big deal. I'm excited to see if he actually breaks camp with them and what they do with him. So I do think that should just be mentioned, that Noah Song is a guy who Phillies fans might be seeing on the field this season. If not, they'll probably see him in spring training at some point, because at some point he's going to have to pitch against live hitters in a game just so that they can see what he got. In that 2019, in 7 games that he started for the Red Sox low A team, he had a 106 ERA. So he was a very high rated prospect. He was one of the Red Sox top rated prospects at the time. So I'm very excited to see if he can get moving and get his stuff going.
Oh, yeah.
For the Phillies this season.
And hopefully he does. Obviously, we're going to root for every player on every team to do well.
Yeah.
And he's just another example of it. They all, and anybody in baseball can come from a different past, can have different things affect them and change the course of their career. But hopefully Noah Son comes up here and dominates as we hope he does.
Yeah.
Considering how he pitched an A-ball.
Yeah. Well, that's 4 years ago. So we'll see. It's very toss-up. Another guy I'm looking at to do really, really good this season is Aaron Nola, who becomes a free agent after the year, unless extended. I want to see him make his money, prove your contract. He's only 29 years old. He'll be 30 years old this season, and it feels like he's been in the league forever. It feels like he is just one of the studs in the league, one of the best starters in baseball.
Yep.
He's definitely up there with the best. So Aaron Nola put together a really good season, and I think there is a world that this rotation becomes one of the better ones in baseball.
Certainly.
Now I want to take a look at their bullpen because I'm very excited to talk about their bullpen. Their bullpen, we gave an 8.6 out of 10.
Very un-Phillies-like.
Very un-Phillies-like, especially considering the last couple of years, but they made the necessary moves.
Oh, they did.
Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, Craig Kimbrell, Gregory Soto, who was acquired in a trade, Andrew Bellotti, Matt Strahm, Connor Brogdon, Nick Nelson. It's a great bullpen.
Yeah.
Gregory Soto, they acquired in a trade with the Tigers in this last month, 2 months ago now. They gave away Nick Maton and Matt Vierling, 2 guys who they could afford to give up, and they get one of the best closers in baseball. Along with Craig Kimbrell, who, yes, he had his ups and downs with the Dodgers last season, but overall, he's still one of the best closers of all time in baseball history, and they
especially
picked him up.
If he forgets about last year where he did not perform to the expectations of the Dodgers organization and their fans. I think that Craig Kimbrell still has plenty left in the tank. He's going to be 35 years old. Hopefully he's got a few more years left in him that he can really solidify himself as one of the greatest bullpen pieces to ever have.
Yeah, I believe it's possible.
Yep.
They have 4 closers on this team. As I mentioned, Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jose Alvarado were closing games out last season. They have 2 righty closers and 2 lefty closers. That ability to have your opponent kind of guess what pitcher they're going to face, like say the team isn't good against righties, and they close it out with Sir Anthony Dominguez one day, the team will still have to worry about them coming out and using another right-handed closer the next day in Craig Kimbrell. They have a lot of depth in this bullpen when it comes to closers, and even when you look at relievers who can go the long innings and relievers who can come in for an inning or two in the 7th and 8th and kind of shut people down. Matt Strahm, they got from the free agency. He was a Red Sox last year, and they got him. He's a very solid piece. Connor Brogdon was a pretty solid piece last year, as well as Nick Nelson. So I think this bullpen is a lot better than in years past, and I'm honestly really happy about it.
Yeah, it shocks me that the Red Sox did let Matt Strahm go, especially after they brought in Kenley Jansen. However, if any team were to have needed him and to help bolster their bullpen, it would have been the Phillies. Obviously, you can talk all about their closers, but they don't really mean anything unless you can get them into the situations that they thrive in. So having guys like Matt Strahm, Nick Nelson, and honestly, I think to start out the year, we're going to be talking about how Gregory Soto will be like a setup guy. He'll have to earn the closer role again. But those 3 guys, I think, are going to be really effective in those middle innings after pulling an Aaron Nola off the mound or a Zach Wheeler off the mound, because they can continue the dominance of, not letting the ball get in play.
Yeah, you talked about Matt Strahm. They signed him to a 2-year, $15 million, I believe, contract.
Or something like that.
He last year in Boston, yes, he had a 3.83 ERA, which he's a reliever, so it's very acceptable. He pitched in 50 games. Had a 1.23 whip, which is not bad whatsoever. He's going to be a quality reliever. Very excited. Think it was a good move for the Phillies, and in general, very good bullpen that the Phillies have put together.
Very good bullpen.
Moving on to their coaching. Phil Nevin is the manager of this team. Having a great time.
No, he's not.
No, not Phil Nevin. I am so sorry. It is
Rob Thompson.
Yeah, my bad. I got him and I got the Angels and the Phillies mixed up. Two red teams, both fired their managers, both had interim managers that they re-signed to contracts. That's my fault. Rob Thompson. Phillies fans love him. We gave them a 7.9 out of 10 on their coaching. They made it to the World Series.
And when Rob Thompson came in, they played a beautiful brand of baseball compared to
when they had Girardi.
When they had Girardi.
Yeah, with Girardi, they were 22-29. With Rob Thompson, they were 65-46. Rob Thompson was a big reason that team kind of turned around. Just some of the moves, especially you can see it going from Joe Girardi to Rob Thompson. Joe Girardi would bring in relievers that shouldn't be brought in. Kind of make matchups happen that aren't going to turn out well. But Rob Thompson kind of turned it all around, and just overall good coaching staff. I think 7.9 out of 10 is very warranted for them.
Yep.
I don't know if you have any more things.
Not anything more to add. I just think that's a great number that we're putting there for them.
Yeah, so quickly moving along to energy. We gave their energy a 9.2 out of 10. This is a very energetic team. You have Nick Castellanos, who was one of the most vocal players in baseball and arguably one of the funniest. Fun fact about him, he owns a flip phone. Trey Turner, who just everything about him is electric, 5-tool player. He might not show the most emotion.
Oh, but he can.
I
don't think he shies away from the big moment.
Exactly, and he just kind of does it all. Kyle Schwarber hits bombs. That's electric in itself. Yeah. He is the bomb factory.
Bat slams on Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
Against the Brewers last year was arguably one of the most exciting parts of the Phillies' first half of the season.
Yeah.
Was that argument that Kyle Schwarber had with Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
And as for the rest of the reason why we gave them such a high rating on the energy at 9.2, just to refresh, is the bottom half of their lineup. Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, and Brandon Marsh. All guys who will scream and yell like they, just hit for the cycle, just broke Barry Bonds' record, but will do that for a single.
Yeah.
They will bring the energy to no matter what the outcome of any play is.
Yeah, also I wanted to highlight Rhys Hoskins. Bat spike in the playoffs. Just everything about him. This team has a lot of fun playing together, especially when they're winning. It seems obvious to say that, but it really does come through, especially in those times. And the pitching staff, when you have that many lights out relievers, you kind of win my heart. When you have that many big name lights out relievers, it's always going to be electric. Being able to come in and shut the door at any time.
And just to think that this team, I feel like, is so tightly knit. So much like they're friends. They're real guys who genuinely like to be around each other all the time. It's gonna lead to these moments where their walk-off celebrations are gonna be like no other.
Yeah, I agree.
We're gonna see a crazy amount of different Gatorades, waters being dumped on each other, laughing, smiling.
Fun times.
It's just gonna be a lot of fun in Philly.
So if you were tallying at home with us, we gave them a 53.9. Out of 70 total, which again was the 11th best team in baseball, 6th best in the National League. Now moving on, Lewis, do you have any rookies to report about to us?
Yeah, of course. So the guy who I want to talk about is ranked 6th in all of the MLB.com's top 100 prospects for the 2023 season. We're going to be talking about Andrew Painter. Currently, he started. Let me take a look. He started last year in low A. However, by the end of the year, he was in double A, where over the course of 3 different leagues last year, he had a 1.56 ERA over 103 innings pitched with a whip of 0.89 and a batting average against of 181.
Incredible.
Could you say it's a little bit too soon? Yes. However, this guy has so much talent that as he gets more into the upper levels of baseball, probably starting the year in AAA or will be put to AAA very soon, we will be talking about how, he might need to be the guy moving forward for them if they choose to not re-sign Aaron Nola, or if they want to make a playoff push late in the year. to give MLB lineups something they've never seen before, Andrew Painter, who we should definitely be on the lookout for.
Yeah, well, when you're one of the highest, when you are the highest pitching prospect in baseball, of course, everyone's going to be looking out for you. So I am very excited to see what he's got. I watched a little bit of him pitch when the top 100 list first came out, just kind of like looking through some people. His stuff looks really good, so I'm excited to see what he can do in AAA this year and see if he becomes even bigger of a name than people kind of thought he was this year, because I feel like he just kind of came out of nowhere on that list this year, but I think it was a really good decision, and I'm excited to see him in the future. I don't know if he'll play this year I don't think he'll get to the major league level this year.
Well, it depends.
Maybe in the next couple of years. Yeah, it depends on everything, but we'll see.
We're rooting for him.
Now we got the fun stuff. Our MVP hitter and MVP pitcher for the Phillies. Lewis, who will be the MVP hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies this year?
I'm going to go with Trey Turner. I think the consistency will just make him the best bat in the lineup. How about you? Who do you think will be their MVP hitter?
I'm also going with Trey Turner. I'm a big Trey Turner fan. And yeah, consistency, hits for everything. He's a 5-tool.
And if I had to pick a second one, a runner-up, it's Brandon Marsh.
Okay.
2023 World Series MVP, Brandon Marsh.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So, next up, MVP pitcher. Who you got being their MVP pitcher this season?
I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler. I think that, he still has plenty left in the tank, obviously. He's only 33 years old. I think that he's just going to be even more locked down and more dominant, and hopefully we can see him just become even better as the season goes on. So I'm gonna lock in Zach Wheeler.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to 4 people. I am. It's as a group. There are 4 closers: Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, Craig Kimbrell, Gregory Soto. Just them as a group. I think they're gonna be the most valuable piece of this team. Pitchers on this team. You can thumbs down all you want. I'm giving it to 4. If I had to give it to 1, I'll give it to Gregory Soto.
Gregory Soto. Okay.
No, but I'm giving it to them 4 as a group. So now, the best part of these episodes, the part that this episode's about, these will be episodes. I'm going to say the 2023 Phillies will be in, and you will tell me what place in the NL East the Philadelphia Phillies will be in this season. Lewis, the 2023 Philadelphia Phillies will be in...
Third place.
Third place in the NL East. I would happen to agree. And yeah. So we'll see if they can prove us wrong and do even better than we think, or if they can get back to the World Series this year, make the playoffs. We'll see how good they can be. Thank you guys for watching, as always. If you liked...
Phillies!
Remember that you guys know your team more than we do if you're a Phillies fan. Obviously, we're not following all the Phillies beat reporters and all that. So let us know what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, what you liked, what we said, what you disliked. And thank you for listening, watching, viewing, subscribing, sharing, commenting, sharing again. And we will see you guys in the next one, which will be the top 10 teams in baseball. Peace.
Go Phillies!